them myself.
Welcome back, folks, to another week of Mount & Blade Bannerlord news updates. For these two updates, we've got, of course, the traditional Q&A featuring Gokhan Sahin, as well as the infamous details of the horse reins system, because of course it's time to talk about how awesome horses are. They never get the love they deserve. Without further delay, let us begin, starting with the Q&A. Sahin is a 3D graphic artist from Turkey who joined TaleWorlds in 2017. He starts off his day by collecting references according to the work that is assigned to him by their team leader, such as modeling, texturing, creating scenes, etc. For example, while he's preparing data palms, he models them using Maya or ZBrush according to the reference photographs, before moving over to the Photoshop or Substance painters for texturing stages. Afterwards, he tests them in the editor and, following approval, implements them into the game. The thing he likes most about Bannerlord is the presentation of the medieval atmosphere in a profound and content way. And luckily, he hasn't faced any major problems throughout his time there and hopes he won't run into any in the future. His current project is a hideout scene for one of the nefarious bandit factions that roams Calradia. Contrary to other scenes, they designed them to be played in a linear fashion. I don't think we've ever got some cutscene action with cinematic fighting in Mount & Blade aside from mods, but if that's what they're going for here, sign me up. The result of that approach is that players are guaranteed to experience compelling combat in those scenes. He states that challenging quests will certainly be awaiting us in there as well. In terms of the weapon and armor questions, it seems like they do have a poly budget. Since we'll be fighting with a large amount of troops on the battlefield, it pushed them to determine not so much a hard limit, but a desired range for some models. For example, he tried to keep the range between 2,500 and 3,500 polygons for the crossbow we see in this image. On the last bit of the Q&A, he goes into what software they use for the daily workflow. The results he gets are a combination of software that allows him to utilize the advantages of each one, which he finds to be much more gratifying. For creating assets, he states that he uses Maya and ZBrush, but for texturing, he'll use Photoshop, Substance Painter, as well as Substance Designer. The time they spend to create these props changes accordingly to the size and level of detail of the object. For example, the structural models may take 1.5 to 2 weeks to create an asset with this mentality. And that'll do it for the Q&A featuring one of their graphic artists. That is all the questions we have for him. And now for the next topic. So Mary, it looks like Bannerlord's finally releasing. How do you feel?
It's been 84 years.
Oh. The next topic has to do with taking the reins in Calradia. In a blog post titled Reins, we delve into one of the main features of Mount & Blade, the horses. As you know, riding and mounted combat are one of the focal points of the game, and they strive to make that aspect as fun and visually appealing as possible. With Bannerlord, they have added the ability for players to equip their beloved horses with different kinds of saddles and equine armor. Probably didn't say that right, but however, there was a key piece of equipment that didn't look as well as it could. The reins were left to hang over the horse's neck in a static, lifeless manner instead of being held in your character's calloused hands as they should. They go on to say that attaching the reins to the rider's hands sounds simple enough. They already had a cloth physics system implemented in Bannerlord that they use for everything, from horse manes to, well, clothes. So they figured they could apply the system to the reins as well. Unfortunately, there was one teensy problem, where the cloth can usually flap and waggle freely on one end while being firmly attached to a pole or something on the other. Reins need to be attached on both ends. They then go into detail about how, for instance, when the horse interacts with the world with you riding it, your steed may drop its head and start grazing anytime you stand by a nice patch of grass, and your character's hands begin moving all over the place while you turn around on your horse or to give orders to your troops, etc. The blog goes on to describe TaleWorlds' method of solution when they run into a problem, which is one of two things. They either lock themselves in a meeting room with a jug of coffee and brainstorm until they find a solution, or they skip that step to go for different means. They then reassure us that even though we may think or be worried about how this may impact the gameplay, they are pretty insistent before setting out to make this change that it shouldn't impact gameplay in any way. And so, when the rider takes any sort of action such as attacking or defending, the character should drop the reins to perform this action without any sort of interruption. Once the attack or defend animation is complete, the character picks up the reins again. Of course, you can still steer the horse as normal during the time you drop the reins. This is a system that's still a little bit rough around the edges, and they do plan to both refine and polish it over the upcoming weeks. They've been doing a lot of polishing. And with that, that is all we have for this week, folks. Still no news yet about a release date or how much total progress has been made, but we'll see if they decide to go to E3 or Gamescom and release more information about that kind of stuff. In the meantime, thank you all so much for watching another one, and I hope you have a good night or day. And farewell.